Guess what, folks? You are not going to believe it. We have another Bears Stadium update. We will get to it here on Chicago Bears Now. But first, want to try and get to 165,000 subscribers. Can we get there by the 4th? By the 4th of July, we're 282 subs away. So if you want to support the program, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's talk stadium. I'm Harrison Graham, and Chicago Bears Now is presented by Prize Picks. Let's talk stadium. We'll start with Indiana, then we'll get to some Illinois stuff later in the video. But the Bears do continue to assess some potential stadium locations in that northwest Indiana area in Hammond near Wolf Lake. Here's some reporting from Matt Stefanski via NBC Chicago. He says that the Bears have taken another step forward, a possible new stadium in northwest Indiana, but at a different location. Soil drilling equipment was seen this past weekend at a new property in Hammond. The testing is happening in Wolf Lake Terminals, just west of Interstate 90 and not far from the original site, Wolf Lake Park. Sources familiar with negotiations between the Bears and Indiana officials previously told NBC that the team was eyeing a second Hammond site not far from the Wolf Lake track that has been the primary focus of lawmakers and team officials up until this point. Well, my main takeaway from this is that this is further proof that Indiana is not a bluff. I maintain that it is their backup option. That's my belief, even though that the Bears came out almost a month ago now and said that they are focusing their stadium advancement project in Indiana. I still think their preference is Illinois, but their actions continue to show that they are continuing to move forward with Indiana in terms of, hey, if we do end up going here, we've got our ducks in a row to make this happen. Now, the Bears statement via Scott Hagel, VP of Public and Government Affairs, says that this activity is part of the normal site evaluation process as we continue to advance our stadium development project in Hammond. We have an excellent option already in place and continue to assess additional parcels of land in the Wolf Lake region to ensure we place the stadium in mixed-use district in the very best location to serve all of Chicagoland. Very standard statement here, nothing declarative. He said as we continue to advance our stadium project in Hammond, but that echoes with their statement from a few, 3-4 weeks ago, like I previously mentioned as well. But nothing is set in stone as far as this goes. Now, this is pretty interesting from Paris Schutz, who has been reporting on this stadium stuff for months, probably years at this point. He said, according to Indiana state and federal records, the north part of that site, talking about the site that was previously mentioned here, is federally protected from any development. The south part is owned by the U.S. Department of Defense, and in between are a bunch of private businesses, including oil tanks. The state would be looking at a massive eminent domain cost before even putting shovels in the ground on a site that literally touches the border of the city of Chicago. He then tweeted this out. This is kind of like a map look of this Hammond site location, and if you see the outline in red over there in the middle left part of your screen, Schutz report or outlines and shows that is the federally protected part of the land. You can see below that is kind of that oil tank area that was mentioned there as well. And I think this continues to just show that Indiana is not a layup, even though their government officials and lawmakers were able to vote legislation very quickly, certainly a lot faster than Illinois has been able to. The area the Bears are looking in continues to have its challenges, it appears, with a lot of water in the area, the swamp stuff. You've got federally protected land. There's stuff with the environment that has questions as well in terms of, is it a feasible location to build a stadium too? So yes, the state itself, the people running it, have gotten more on board, certainly a lot faster than Illinois, but the land, the area it's not just, hey, let's just start building a stadium. Like the Bears are having to kind of assess and look through a lot of different specific locations to just see if it is even possible. So I do think it has its challenges, and I am still convinced that Illinois happens, because I have maintained that, yes, they have to do some of this legwork with Indiana to see the feasibility of all this stuff, but also, I still don't sense the that they're all in on Indiana. Yeah, they're putting the work in, but like there's still conversations with Illinois. It's not like they've shut those down. So until that happens, I still personally believe Illinois is where this ends up going. We'll talk more about the Illinois side of this here in just a moment, but first we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Code HMA gets you $50 in player picks lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. We have reached the knockout stage in the World Cup, and it's the perfect time to get going with Prize Picks because in addition to your player picks lineups, you can also do team picks. You can pick who's going to win or lose. Also, just a little tip, yes, you can still pick draw on these games. That's for regulation. So if it goes to overtime, you would win if you picked draw, for example. So be aware of that. Now, here is a player picks lineup that I've got for you guys today. I've got the Brazilian goalie Becker, more than 1.5 saves, which is a goblin pick. Vinicius Jr., I'm taking more than half a goal. I think he finds the back of the net. I took less on passes because I do think possession will be somewhat split. Japan's a pretty good team, so I took less than 29.5 passes from him. And then I took the lightning play from our friend Virgil van Dijk of the Netherlands. You get a little discount there, 68.5. I think it's normally set at like 84.5. So 10 to win 95 on this 4-player pick lineup. Pick more or less on stat projections available, and if you hit, you win money. Simple as that. So play for $5, get $50 instantly when you use our code HMA. Link is in the comments and description to get started with Prize Picks today. Okay, what about Illinois? Where do things sit with Illinois and all of this? There was some stuff from late last week to kind of tie in here. The governor said that it's essentially up to the Bears to where this goes at this point in the state of Illinois and to whether he'd call a summer session or not. Here's what he said last week. He said it's up to the Bears to make a decision about where they want to be. They need to begin conversations with members of the legislature that weren't able to win over before. We don't want to raise taxes on the people of Illinois. We have offered infrastructure support, which is actually most of what the Bears had been asking for, which is true. We think we're as close as anybody to getting a stadium done here. I don't think Indiana is a whole heck of a lot closer than we are. Legislatively, they are, but I don't know if he's referring to the land site itself, as we just outlined, clearly there are still those challenges there, which we just brought up earlier in the show. Now, Charlie Wachowski, that's probably not close in the pronunciation. I apologize. NBC Chicago reported on this as well. He says, this week Pritzker said he'd be open to calling a special session of the General Assembly to address the stadium project, but only if the Bears and Illinois lawmakers can reach a workable deal prior to that session taking place. And from other reports we've heard in the last week or two as well, is that Illinois essentially has told the Bears, like, hey, you write up the specifics you want, bring it to us, and if we think it's workable, if we think it's agreeable, we can progress from there. So it sounds like the Bears are starting to do that behind the scenes as well, which again is also a suggestion that they're not completely all in on Indiana. So that's essentially what's happening, is that Illinois is asking the Bears to do the legwork on a bill proposal. If they present it to the state and if they get enough of no's turned to yeses verbally, then Pritzker will call a summer session and a bill will likely be passed. That is kind of the cliff notes of where we're at now. How far along are we in that? How much help do the Bears need to kind of bullet point this out in legislative form to get to a point where Illinois would agree? I don't know. I don't know where all of that sits at this point in time. But I do think if a summer session is called, I think Illinois then enters the driver's seat, because I don't think Pritzker's calling a summer session unless yes is an overwhelming favorite in terms of the vote that we need to pass. Because remember, it got through the Senate, in May, but it never got to the House for a vote. Now, it won't look exactly the same as the one did in May, so I assume they'd have to go through the Senate again and then progress to the House. But it seems like it's one of those deals like, hey, we're only going to call a summer session if it's an overwhelming thought that this will pass. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if there's a specific deadline to call a summer session or not. I will look into that, and next time we talk stadium, I will pass that along as well. So you guys let me know. Illinois, Indiana, where will the new Bears Stadium be? Drop a comment in the comment section of this video. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button. By the way, TBD if we're going live today. We'll for sure at least have another episode, but I got to run an errand, so might just do a second video, so stay tuned for that. But we'll have something else regardless. So turn on notifications so you know exactly what we got coming up next.